The Edge of Darkness by Claire Casey, from The King and the Spider. Sarah walked home. She'd been forced to work late, and she'd be cutting it fine for getting home for the start of the curfew. It's for everyone's safety. Everyone understood that. Terrorism was still an ever-present danger. The threat of attack had been high for years, and it did not look like the threat was going to be going away any time soon. There had been constant warnings reminding people to be vigilant and to report anyone who was acting suspiciously. No threat was to be tolerated. There had been a report in the news the night before. A terrorist cell had been discovered, and the members had all been arrested. No one cared where they'd been taken. That really was the least of people's concerns. Anger had been mixed with relief. Why hadn't they been caught and dealt with earlier? But at least they'd been stopped before they'd been able to carry out what they were planning to do. She could not remember when the curfew had come into place, but it was something that she gave no thought to. It was part of her life, nothing more. It had been around about the same time that technology had taken another leap forward. The internet had gone from being confined within computers to being interfaced with every single person. It was a simple process, really. Nothing more than placing a simple computer chip in people's brains. That one simple procedure allowed everyone to access the internet and all of the information that it contained. There was no way of turning it off or disconnecting from it. That meant that there was almost a constant chatter, which Sarah had learned to ignore for much of the time. It was the same for everyone else. She could never live without it now. After years of hearing the background noise of online life, it was a comfort. It was enough to stop her from feeling isolated and alone. It felt as if there was always someone there whenever she needed them. Walking up the path that led to the house that she had shared with her parents, Sarah fished her keys out of her bag. With the way the house's prices were climbing, there was no chance that she was going to be able to afford to pay rent, let alone buy herself her own house. It appeared to be the same with many of the people she knew who were her age. It never mattered how much overtime she put in at work. Her pay was never enough for her to be able to save the money that she needed. There wasn't much for her to complain about. Sarah knew that she was looked after. Her parents could not love her any more than they already did. There were always varied reasons for why things were as they were. There were those who were making trade difficult, forcing prices up and wages down. Allowing herself in, Sarah was greeted by the smells of dinner. Whatever it was making her mouth water. Everything that would have been used would have come from the authorised list of foods that were deemed to be healthy by the government. There was also a separate list of drinks that were deemed acceptable. These lists were changed on a regular basis, but Sarah knew that her and her family would always adapt to what the government deemed to be good for them. There was nothing else for it. It was all in the fight against ill health and obesity. "Hello, sweetheart," her mother called from the kitchen. "How was work today?" "Mum, you know how work was. Didn't you see my post on social media?" Sarah commented with a smile. "I certainly saw yours." "Well, old habits die hard," her mother answered. Whenever anyone wanted to post an update on social media, all they had to do was think about it. It would be placed permanently on the internet where everyone would be able to see it. It certainly made it easier for parents to keep a close eye on their children. There had been times when people had allowed their minds to wander and they had unconsciously posted their daydreams online. That led to some very strange posts, ranging from beating a heavyweight boxer in an arm wrestling competition to being a hero on some quest worthy of a fantasy adventure. Sarah never gave any thought to what life could have been when her mother was young, when the world was a much different place. She knew that her mother had grown up before they had been integrated with technology, but what that world was like was beyond her comprehension. Sarah had heard something of what life had been like when she'd been at school. She'd also seen something online, but it didn't matter what information she had. None of it seemed real. It was like a different world where everyone was disconnected from technology. Things like televisions and telephones were no longer needed. It was now all internalised. There was no reason for anyone to miss their favourite TV shows anymore. It was the same for music. There was no reason for CDs, vinyl or MP3s. It was all streamed directly into people's thoughts to be listened to whenever they wanted.